Today we're going to start with two 5 to 6 pound beef tenderloin roasts. We're going to walk through the whole process of cleaning them, preparing them, cooking them, and getting them ready for your dinner. You're going to want to start with a nice sharp knife. And across one side of your tenderloin, you're going to find that there is this membrane. It's kind of stringy, kind of grainy, kind of tough. You want to remove this as close to the meat as possible. I just simply run the blade right along the edge as I'm pulling it up. It'll tear off as well, but I want to leave as much meat on my tenderloin roast as I possibly can. So you can see one strip coming off right there. From there, I'm going to go ahead and continue and just take all the rest of that membrane off. Everything you see right there is going to come right on off of that tenderloin. Then, once I've got that off, I flip it over and I'm taking off as much of the fat as I can. And again, keeping it as close trimmed to the meat as I possibly can, but making sure that I get rid of most of that fat. I mean, the fat, you want a little bit of fat in your tenderloin, but you certainly don't want much. This piece of meat is fairly tender already, and it's very flavorful, and it's nicely marbled. So trim out as much as you possibly can. So what you have left is a nice lean beef tenderloin. This is a very lean filet mignon. Most tenderloins come with a thicker end and a thinner end. Just tie that thin end back a little bit so you've got nice consistency throughout. I simply season it up with salt and pepper. I'll take a salt grinder and a pepper grinder, and I'll make some nice coarse salt and nice coarse pepper, and I'll coat it down really well. That's all I put on this one. Keeps it nice and flavorful and nice and basic. Got my 2 buckets ready. I like to use apple wood. I soak it in water just so that it gives it a nice full smoke. And then I also like to use a charcoal starter versus fluid just to keep it nice and clean. Got the tenderloins in there smoking at about 180, 190 degrees. I like to get that internal temp about 140, 145 before I pull them. Throughout the cooking process, you're going to want to make sure that you're not only flipping these and rotating them around, but also rotating them closer to the one that's got the probe in it, getting it closer to that smoking chamber. My chamber is on the right hand side, and you can see that when I just flipped, it's got a nice smoky bark on it already. So I'm going to rotate this one around so that the other end gets that nice smoky bark too. It gives it a nice even smoking and an even cooking process. And then the one that's got the probe in it, that's the one that's I'm keeping track of the time and the temperature in. I've got to use a remote control probe temperature guide to keep that one going. But make sure you rotate those around. Here's my wireless temperature gauge. That's the one that's reading from the probe inside that loin. You can see right there, we're right at temperature. We're ready to pull those babies and start to put a little bit of a crispy bark on the outside of them. Internal temperature is right at medium rare, right where I like it. Once I'm finished smoking them, I take them and pop them right on the grill, just enough to crisp them up on the outside. I've already got the internal temperature right where I want it, so I don't leave them on there too long. And then from there I take them up and I cut them into 1-inch steaks. This is some of the best tenderloins that you'll ever eat. Once you try it this way, you'll never have it another way. Okay, here's our finished product. Those 1-inch fillets cut. Cheesy potatoes, a nice salad, and some Mojo's Magic Bowl to dip into. Good eating tonight.